Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's 8 o'clock on a Monday night. Thanks for joining. Thanks for doing your homework, paying attention to the details. If you're live here right now, you know that it's a special episode tonight. Halloween's tomorrow night. Not going to go up against Halloween. I can't do that. And I got Chris Eaton and I got Steven from Leviathan Snakes here. I think Courtney might make a special appearance as well. Her plans changed a little bit, so I think she's available tonight too. So stick around. How cool is this, right? We're going to hang out, have a good time tonight. Before we get started, just a fair heads up. We usually keep the show pretty PG and that kind of stuff. We might go beyond PG tonight, not on purpose, not out of the, not just for kicks and, to cause a scene, but we're hanging out. And truth be told, Chris has his own brand. Chris has his own persona. He's also his own person, and he's been real good to me. And like, at the end of the day, I wouldn't invite somebody to be on the show and then ask them not to be themselves, right? So I think the time's right. I think it's been a long time in the making. He's really gracious to come on my show. And what was I going to tell somebody? Hey, don't be yourself. So anyhow, heads up on that. Fair warning. We might just talk like adults tonight, hanging out. That's all that there is to it. So heads up on that. I've done my fair part, right? So like I say, Chris and Steven, they'll be on in just a moment. We're going to talk about the 15 minutes documentary. It's called 15 Mins is how it's written, but 15 minutes. And it's about sort of a look at the history of ball pythons through the lens of the 15 minutes of lame contest that Chris created for his show and his brand. And it's really launched the careers in our industry of a lot of different breeders. So we'll talk through that. Steven and Courtney put that documentary together, and to say they put it together is an understatement. We'll talk about how that came to be as well. Stick around. Going to be a killer show tonight. We're also going to talk about, we'll get out of just the documentary stuff as well. Definitely going to hang out. And as I put in one of my Instagram posts, the content well runs deep tonight. So we'll have a good time. We'll go, I imagine we'll go the full 90 minutes. So stick around. A couple really quick announcements before we jump into things. If you would, check out the LinkTree link down below for Proper Royals. There is where you'll find all the information to Patreon, Morph Market, Instagram, Facebook, all the different ways that you can get in touch with me, support Proper Royals, buy animals, any questions you have, any of that stuff. It's all in there. So one convenient link down below the LinkTree link. I did a snake show this weekend with Snake Discovery here in Minneapolis area. It was in a suburb called Hastings. It was a good show. It did well. I mean, I know that the market isn't as easy as it used to be, but there is a market out there, guys. It's going all right. So tune in Thursday morning on Proper Cup of Joe. I'll dive into the shows. I've done 3 in 8 days now. So I have a little bit of a better feel and a better opinion of the local market. That's what we'll cover on Thursday morning, 7:30 Eastern on YouTube as well. Same channel space. Hey, on the announcements, really importantly, please, this is special to me. It's these are friends. I don't know if you saw Holly's episode last week on the cancer awareness episode. Stan and his wife Tiffany from Sea of Serpents Morphs was on. Tiffany has stage 4 breast cancer. She has been told that it is manageable and it's certainly not in a terminal situation yet, but it is taking a toll on them. Holly was kind enough to start a GoFundMe. And here's the thing. If you don't think that you can make a difference, anything makes a difference. There's going to be hundreds of people that watch this episode. If hundreds of people could give $1 or $2 or $3, that would make a huge difference. That would make the difference in a utility bill 1 month or a wonderful weekend away that they could forget about the challenges of life with cancer on a daily basis. It would make it easier for Stan to leave work if he needs to care for his wife. and not worry about, well, will I have a job, or what's it, or hopefully he does have a job, but it's going to cost me for clocking out, or I don't know how the world works. I don't know how his pay works. It's not my point. Anything helps is what I'm saying. We deal in such high volume in this community of watches, clicks, likes, all that stuff. Think about it. Like I said, there's going to be 500 to 1,000 people that watch this episode on the replays, both live and on the replays. So we could really make a big difference. That link is in the description down below. It's before my LinkTree. It's right after the description. There's a GoFundMe there. And Stan and Tiffany have always been good supporters of mine. And I used to see them at the shows. They would always come by the table, high five. Hey, Adam, you're finally vending. You're doing it, man. All that kind of support. So thanks for hearing me out. If you can find a spare buck or two or more, I know it would make a huge difference. So thank you. I'll leave it there. Thank you so much. Steven's been on the show, I think, more than anybody. He's certainly in the Five Timers Club. He shaved his eyebrow one time on the show. Who knows what's going to happen? And then Chris Eaton is going to be on the show. I will, I don't know. I was trying to think of like what story or how to, I usually have a personal tie to introduce people with. So, I'll be interested to hear Chris's thoughts on this too. But whenever I talk to people, they seem to think that there's something between me and Chris. There's nothing between me and Chris. We've spent more time talking in the green room tonight than we've ever spoken ever to each other. But Chris was gracious enough to set up an opportunity for me to be on 15 Minutes of Lame 2 years ago. The scheduling didn't work out. I went to one of the Sunday night Zoom calls, and I didn't realize that you sort of need to tiptoe into Chris's world. And I jumped in the deep end, and I said, you know what, maybe this isn't the right fit at the right time for me. And I admit I never followed back up with Chris. And then, as time goes on and people don't talk, then it's like, when are you going to talk? But there's never been anything. And Chris was great. He ran promos for the guitar that Jeremy got from me that we were able to raise such huge money for US Arc with. So I was flattered when Steven suggested that he and Chris come on tonight. And we didn't think we were going to make it work because the show's usually on Tuesday. Chris has got his Bronx Down Under on Tuesday. And I said, you know what? I got a Monday night slot that I'm going to do. And boom, within minutes, no hesitation. Hey, we're in. Chris is in. We're going to come do the show. So I'm really happy to have them here. Enough of talking about people in the third person when they're sitting there listening to me in the green room. How awkward is that, right? So for the, I don't know how manyth time, please welcome back Steven Capps from Leviathan Snakes. And for the very, very first time, please welcome to the Proper Royals stage, Chris Eaton of Snakes and the Fatman himself. What's going on, guys?
What's up, brother?
I'm glad to have y'all. It's a cool, it's Monday night. Steven made a good point. We all kind of look like we know what we're doing because we got some good lights and sound, Chris got the hat on. It's going to be cool. Thank y'all for being here.
Yeah, I got the eyebrow back. Like, it's lots of things have changed since the last time.
I heard you, speaking of things that changed, I've heard that, like, your soul has been, deeply affected by the last 36 hours. You're a hardened, changed man.
Yep.
That sounded really weird to say.
Yeah, hardened. But yeah, fugitive from the law. But yes, it has been a weekend. So I don't know if you want to get into the whole story right now, or if you want to.
I don't know that we need to make the whole show about it, but look, I'm already at the point of laughing at you. You're on the lam and you get rounded up in Columbia, South Carolina. Like, you need a better end story than that, man.
All right. So it is way less exciting, actually, like talking about it, but it has just been exhausting dealing with. So yesterday, while I was heading up to Columbia, South Carolina, because we live down here in Aiken, to pick up rodents for the ball pythons, because we're not like 100% self-sufficient. So we like buy some extra rodents when we don't have enough growing up and all that. So as I'm driving up there, Courtney's going to be leaving later on yesterday, but she didn't end up leaving, in order to go up to Virginia for work. And then she was going to hang out with like Patrick from Chimera and all this different stuff. And like 2 blocks from the house, I get pulled over. And as I get pulled over, the police officer comes up and it's like, hey, do you know why I pulled you over? And I'm like, honestly, I don't. Like, I'm like still in town. I'm going like 30 miles an hour. Like, I haven't done anything like wrong. And they say that my registration is expired. I'd be like, there is no way. I just got a new sticker in August. There's absolutely no way that my registration is expired. So they say, can I get proof of your license, proof of insurance, all that stuff? So I give it to them. They go back to like their car, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know what's up. I'm just kind of sitting there, whatever. He comes back after a little bit and he says, it looks like the DMV has suspended your license for lack of insurance, or your license and registration for lack of insurance. So I'm just like, I have insurance. You can see it. He's like, the DMV says you don't. So this is like going back and forth with them. And he ends up not actually arresting me because I was driving without a license, but on the ticket, it has like arrested 8/29/2023. Here's my mandatory court date. I had to get a tow truck to come tow the car back to the house. It was super, super stressful. And then going to the DMV, I've been to the DMV. I probably spent all day at the DMV, but I went there and back 3 different times today. I got there as soon as they opened. And it's like each time I'd go there, they'd be like, you need to have a letter from your insurance stating that you had or that you have current insurance. So then I'd get a hold of Geico and they'd write a letter and they would email it over to me. I'd go back to the DMV and they'd be like, this is great, but it doesn't say that you had insurance in August when you got your new tags. So I'd go back to Geico. They'd say like, he's had continuous insurance since 9/21/2018 with us. I go back and they were like, it doesn't specifically state that you had it. So I go back to Geico. That was all day today. Like eventually I got my license back, but it's been a slog.
I think there was what's the old Dane Cook joke where he said the DMV, like also known as Satan's asshole, like it's a horrible place to have to spend all day.
And Courtney said like by the end of it, like we were Stockholmed. Like one person would be like, do you have any questions? And we're like, oh, thank you just for simply asking, being nice to us, like whatever you want, you're great. Like, but no, it was a lot. Like I was exhausted.
And Courtney's driving you around because
she was. Yeah.
So.
In
the cop's defense, I'd pull you over too if I saw a creep like you fucking rolling through my neighborhood. All right.
I did, because they asked me like, where do you do? Like, what are you going towards, or what are you doing, or whatever they ask. I don't know what cops ask. I'm like, oh, I'm going up to Columbia to get rodents, and he's like, to get rodents? Why? I'm like, well, my wife and I breed bull pythons, and he's like, straight to jail. Like. I bet you have hypo too. Like,
Jesus. At least you had both eyebrows for this. Brian brings up a good point. Chris, how is everything going, man? I'm sure you don't want to. I'm sure you've talked plenty about the leg or the former leg, but how you doing? Things going along?
It's going fine. I'm on track to be walking again by the end of the year, so I'm good to go.
Really?
I had already planned on. Basically I told them, I was like, I think it's time we just cut it off now because, it's getting too aggravating to have to deal with. And I'm kind of adhering to their timeline on what we're doing. Apparently when you go get fitted for a new leg, the process is remarkably quick. So, I'll have one within 3 weeks. I'll probably be walking within 3 months. Yeah.
That's good, awesome. Man. Good. Like I said, I know that you probably didn't want to hang out tonight talking all about that, but I
don't care. But I got to tell you, I don't know how Sean Bradley does this all day. Being in a chair, like this is brutal. But like I was in the elevator the other day, and you hit the button and then you look at where the elevator's at. And when I looked up at where the thing that told me what floor the elevator was on, it looked like it was 75 feet away from me. Okay. Like I was just like, I feel so low right now, So
yeah, the stuff they don't realize until you're doing it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
How about your arms? I mean, does it take a toll on, like, do you have pecs yet? Like, what's going on there?
Luckily, I self-regulate a lot, right? So my left arm is really fine. Right? I mean, my left arm looks like Popeye, right?
All right.
Right arm, more like, little dinky.
Does that make you go in circle? Like you have to steer the opposite direction?
All the time. I'm just going in a circle, right into balls. It's just, got to get that other arm up.
All right. Joking, but also serious question. When they like amputated the leg, like what do they do with the leg now? Like,
man, I asked them if I could have it. You know, I was like, listen, it's mine, right? And they're like, no, you can't have it. And I was like, well, could I? I offered them $1,000 for it because I figured
for your own leg.
Yeah, my shitty leg is only worth like $1,000, right? So I was like, I'll give you $1,000, and they were like, no, I thought it would go to like a school because I've done I've had so much work done and I had like 15 stints in there that they would say like, okay, this doesn't work while they're teaching new doctors. No, they threw that shit out. Yeah, that's all they did with it. They threw it out. And it was funny because my mother was in the waiting room and she's like, I saw 2 nurses come out with a box that was like that big. And I was like, I wonder if that's the leg. And the doctor was like, I could assure you that was the leg. Okay. So if you wanted to keep it, your mother should have made a quick move at the time and fucking took the box and ran away with it. But yeah, they burn it, I guess.
If you had got to keep it, what would you have done with it?
Man, I would have had Maria Matacola do that same thing she did with the chameleon, where I think they called it diaphanize, where she gets it down to the bone, and but the cartilage and everything is still there, and it lights up like purple and green.
Oh, you could make the lamp with it. You could have made like
I would have did the Christmas story, yeah.
Yeah, you could have made the lamp.
At Arlington, they raffled off a leg for me, and Patrick from Chimera went out and found a leg at some kind of department store, and they all signed it. So I have the leg that I could make the lamp with. So I plan on doing that. But
that one has the ass on it too, right?
Well, no, the one they did at Tinley has the ass.
Okay, that's the one I saw. Yeah, Justin has that one though, right?
Justin has that one. He's going to send it to me, and I'm like, "What is your wife don't want it in the house?" And he's like, "Yeah." Like this is pretty morbid. You're going to have to get rid of this. So
you get to add to your sticker collection, Chris. With all of those.
No, fantastic, right? I was going to shoot a video because people have been sending me pictures because Brian's a dickhead, right? And he tells people to send me stickers all the time. So I got all these stickers in the mail, and I was just going to do a video just throwing them out. Like throwing them out one by one. And then like a douche, I have stickers made now. Well, like that's a big thing because some people drew me as like the Terminator and they drew me as like a pirate. And I'm getting stickers of those made now, just like a 9-year-old. Like
I did get one of those
in grade school would do.
I did get one of those pirate stickers.
No.
You might not realize it, Chris. That's something you and I mean, I voice it differently, but to this day, there has never been one single Proper Royals sticker.
It's so stupid, right? It's
you got to cut off your leg. Yeah, cut off your leg.
When you're in around year 18, you'll be like, oh, I'm going to give in. I'm going to get stickers.
I got the T-shirts, but I've never done stickers, man. And I feel bad, but they're like you say, they're everywhere. And like people send me like 4 of them. Like, I got one little like iron beam. Like I'll put one sticker up, but I put a lot of work into this room. I'm not anyway. So this documentary, you guys, Steven, I know you worked like crazy on this. Give us like the backstory on this. How did it come about? We got to get into how long you worked on it. What's going on with the people that you got? I mean, this wasn't just like, hey, let's do a live and chat for a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'm stoked about this. So it's been in the works for a while. So my undergrad is in English with a concentration in creative writing. My master's is in creative writing. When I was in college, I was like, if I can like get out of college, make $30,000 a year writing science fiction and fantasy novels, that'd be it. And I didn't realize how stupid I was back then. But that was like my thing. I love the idea of like storytelling and stuff like that. Out of college, I ended up getting into marketing because that's like a real job, because wanting to be like a fantasy writer is not a real job. From there, I got into photography and videography when I was the social media manager for the South Carolina National Guard. And I slowly over time shifted to where videography became more of like a secondary hobby for me rather than straight up writing. So when we got into the ball python hobby, I felt like that at the time there wasn't any like documentary kind of stuff on ball pythons or reptiles. Like there was like nature stuff, but not like specifically the ball python hobby. And I really wanted to do it, but I didn't really, that's kind of like a topic. That's not a story. And it wasn't until we did the 15 minutes of lame last year with Chris, and this is a spoiler for the documentary, but hopefully everybody was voting for us last year anyway. When we ended up winning the documentary, it was like, this is perfect. The documentary's plot can be focused on the 15 minutes of lame, and it can be how Chris started Snakes and the Fatman, how Chris started the contest, history of the ball python hobby, specifically the breeding hobby. And that's when we interviewed like Justin for that. And then overall, the journey of the 15 minutes of lame contest, culminating in Courtney and I watching the results as they happened, because I recorded our reactions as it was going on. Yeah. For last year's 15 minutes of lame, which, quick plug, the contest is going to start for this year, December 1st. And I am stoked to see what people do.
And while we take that little sidetrack, when will the winner be announced, Chris? When will you choose the winner this year?
Same as last year, Christmas Day. Yeah.
Because was that only 1 month? That felt like forever last year.
No, last year was 2 months. It was brutal.
Okay, I thought so.
I mean, there was 16,000 people that voted. That's how long it went. And I was like, this is ridiculous now, you know. So it's only going to go 3.5 weeks this year, and we're going to have judges again, and then the online thing counts for 25% of the vote, kind of like an American Idol or something like that. Gotcha. Yeah, I was like, because a lot of the people came on my show for like campaign stuff, you know, and I was like, well, there's a couple things. I was like, shit, these people are working hard. And then I was like, man, I'm sitting here advertising for Chris this whole time. Like, what an evil genius this bastard in the hat is. Like, that was a great plan, man. This was the first year where people actively went on other shows to promote themselves. Because when Antoine did it, Antoine did it to a point, but I mean, now there's 75 different podcasts out there, right? So, right, you know, if you could have the chance to go on and promote it, well, listen, I'm not going to stop you, you know, but at the same time, it's not necessary. But you know, I got to admit, I do like. I like seeing it out there on other people's shows. It
was cool.
Like, me, you know,
I even said it on air. I was like, he pulled like the Jedi mind trick. Here I am, like plugging Chris. Here it is, man. And it was cool. I will say it felt like a different moment. It felt like a unique moment that hadn't been done before, though. I did have to say the level of engagement from everybody in the community was really cool. And Steven, I know you and Courtney were driving it with your own content, but you guys also crushed it. That thing with what were you like kidnapping Andrew when he's dancing it was fantastic. I mean, it was really good content versus just like everyday BS memes and, you know, how many snakes can we all look at before we go crazy, you know? So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty cool.
It was so much fun. Like, even if we hadn't won, like, we would have been like bummed, but it was so much fun doing it. Like, it gives you an opportunity to present, like, a lot of times for like reptile stuff, we show off the animals, we talk about the snakes, we talk about the business, things like that. I feel like that Chris's 15 minutes of lame gives people an opportunity to show like comedy and kind of show how witty they can be, and it shows like that dynamic between the community that I don't think that there's another outlet for it, like specifically the community aspect. Like, we could talk about snakes, but that's not what the contest is about.
Yeah, well, and the people being on the same page, like there's who is it, Lace Balls, they're putting out some really funny stuff right now, but it's not like a group of people doing it in sort of a related way. So like I say, it was a cool platform. It felt really fresh. It felt different. It felt new and creative. It was cool.
I'm so excited for this year.
I like it because they were the only ones that really told a story, you know, and then stuck to the story throughout the whole thing. And we got we got a glimpse into Steven and Courtney's personal life. Was Steven was basically talking, and Courtney would just put her hand up, and Steven would just stop. Like, did you ever see that ostrich video where the ostrich is running at the girl and the girl's like, stop, and the ostrich just stops? Steven was an ostrich in that video. So, I just happened to be in Tennessee, and they were like, oh, listen, we're gonna come up, we're gonna film some stuff. And I'm like, all right, cool. Let's do it. So they even did a video of them kidnapping Shane and I.
That was the one that kicked it off. Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun, man.
We were going to do that one, just the kidnapping with you and Shane, but there was so much excitement about those that's kind of what turned it into unintentionally like the running gag for our campaign.
Well, the greatest part about that is Steven walking into the hotel with like filming lights and camera equipment, and the hotel people like, what are you guys gonna do?
And we're like, OnlyFans. Don't worry about it. Like,
so Chris, you brought up, and I have to share, the audience may not realize, and Steven and I become good friends, and Chris, I know you and Steven are good friends, so I feel comfortable saying this. But Chris, you brought up when Steven gets excited about something, when you talk about lights in a hotel, people don't understand. It looks like Dateline NBC is coming to catch a pedophile in there with the lights and the camera. Like, we did that in Daytona, and he was like, we'll just do a live. It'll be cool in the lobby, and we'll set it up. And I got there. I was like, is there a makeup room? Like, where do I need to go right here?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But like I said with Steven, when you do something with Steven goes all in. Like Steven's that guy who's like, you're in an argument with him, and he's like, if I'm wrong, I'll chop my finger off. and he's that dude, So he just comes into things just like fully prepared. Like he does things like I would do them, but I don't have to tell Steven, oh, make sure you bring a couple of lights, or do you want me to bring them? He's like, no, got him.
Right.
Make sure you have a second camera on, and he's like, no, got it. Don't worry about it. So
I will say,
love working with him.
I go all out on like stuff like that, like production. But when we went up to visit Chris in New York, I got the cheapest tickets I possibly could. And I swear to you, Flying Spirit was like flying a lawnmower up to New York City. Like, we get in, and like for the most part, like it's Spirit. So we got like the $20 tickets that they have, like round trip kind of thing. We get in and we sit down, and in front of us, you know how they have like a little pouch, and they have like the little like guide that will show you like, hey, your cushion is a flotation seat.
Right. Yeah. You're going to take the slide. Yeah.
These seats on the Spirit airline did not have a pouch. Instead, they had a bungee cord that strapped the little thing to the back of the seat. So as it's going on, like we go off, and it's like the plane is taking off, and usually it's a little bit louder, but it's like really loud. Like it's like, like it sounds like a lawnmower. And we're just going, and we're like, oh man, is it really going to be like this the entire flight? And we're like getting up into the air. And as we start to get like cruising altitudes, they'll like just go silent. And we're like, oh no.
You're like, let it come back. Bring it back.
But yeah, like that is, I'll go all out on production. But if there's any way I can cut cost, it's like, no, we're flying Spirit, and we're going to be leaving out at 2 a.m. and we're going to get back at 2 a.m. the next day. Like,
so how do the conversations go? Because you like, it's one of these things, you got to get more than one person on board. So you call somebody and you're like, hey, I want to make this documentary. And I'm sure they're like, yeah, that sounds cool, I guess, but there's got to be more people. Like how did that work, getting in touch with people, and what was the process on that, or what'd you run into?
So I think, Chris, you were the first one we talked to. Like, so it was Courtney and I. We called Chris, and did we tell you about it during the contest, or was it after the contest?
You told me the day after you won. You told me when we did your interview, you're like, I want to throw something by you. Okay.
Oh, yeah. And one thing that I feel like anybody who hasn't like talked to Chris and has only seen his stuff, Chris is like, if you bring an idea to Chris is always like, hell yeah, let's get it. Like, Chris is super, super supportive of it. So when he was down, I feel like that Chris being involved helped everybody else, because if Chris is going to do it, it's not like, oh yeah, here's like some stupid idea from some new ball python breeders when it's like, oh, we're doing a documentary with Chris. People take it seriously. It's like, that's why Justin did it. Justin did it because of Chris.
Yeah, you get the anchor on there, and then it brings the validity to the project.
That's funny. I remember the first question I asked is like, who would want to watch this? You know, like this is like this is the dumbest thing that I've ever done in my life. Who would want to watch this? And Steven was like, trust me, don't worry about it, just trust me. And I'm like, all right, you know, go ahead, let's do it. And then he said, we're gonna fly up to New York. And I was like, oh, man, maybe they are a little serious about this. And then they're like, and then we're gonna go down to Justin's. Then we're gonna fly out to Tinley and interview Shane. And then we're gonna fly out. And I'm like, they're like doing shit. They're not just gonna casually, you know, do a StreamYard with somebody and be like, this is my interview. I mean,
right, it's a documentary, yeah.
It went everywhere, and they did this. And once I saw them doing that, I was like, this is gonna be golden. And I knew from the quality of the reels that they put out that I was like, this ball python documentary is gonna look so much better than that other ball python documentary out there.
Oh,
I was just like, Steven, you have full support. Whatever you need, I will. You know, I'll do. So
it was awesome.
Well, cool. And how long did you work on it? This was, I mean, I think I have an idea, but you can. I mean, that's your story to tell. But how long did you work on it? And how long is the end product? How long does the documentary run for?
Yeah, so the whole documentary, like final edited one, I think it's a 1 hour 25 minutes. Does that sound right, Chris?
Yeah, I think it was about an hour and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is feature length.
Yeah, this is feature length.
Oh, it's definitely a movie. Yeah.
And I can talk about that, like things that I would going in the future. Like we'll get into that later on. But we have spent probably right about a year on it because we recorded. There's parts of the documentary from our campaign last year, and that was going on maybe a month. Like it was going on in November is when our campaign started last year. So we've been working on this for a year, easily. Like,
yeah, I mean, actually, to get that done in a year is kind of crazy, actually, as well, too. Like, I've never made a documentary. My film editing is limited to my YouTube experience, which is nothing compared to what you're doing. But just doing and to edit down an hour and a half worth of, or to edit hours and hours and hours, 25 hours down to an hour and a half, and make it still flow. I haven't seen the documentary, but I've seen the trailer. So how much time was that you spent, or how much of that year was spent editing, you think?
A lot.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't know total, like, because we have hours of interview with
Chris. I know you didn't clock in and out and stuff for it, but
yeah, but I know, like, just straight up recording time. We probably talked to Chris for 2 hours for you, an hour for Donato, an hour for Brian. We actually recorded 2 sets of interviews with Chris and Shane, and each of those were about an hour too. The first ones, but we did more content on those ones later on. Justin, we were down there for a whole day. We probably have like 2 or 3 hours worth of content for that. Obviously not all in the documentary. Yeah. Antoine was like about 2 hours of content. I don't know total runtime of total content that we like have from it, but I know that it's well over 100 gigabytes worth of data.
Yeah.
But just on the raw footage.
Where'd you interview Antoine? Did you fly out to Arizona, or did you meet him at a show?
So he had moved from California to North Carolina. He's kind of like by the Outer Banks now. So it was like 2 weeks after he had moved. He hadn't even gotten all of his stuff yet. He had us come up.
That's really recent. Okay, so that's still, you were filming pretty recently and still put that in then.
Yes. That was, we had gotten a lot of other stuff edited and ready to go. And I knew spots where I'd be like, I want to ask Antoine about this topic, and this spot in this scene is going to be an Antoine space, but I just didn't have the content yet. So that kind of helped, because once I was able to interview Antoine and get it recorded, I knew what I needed from there, and it made editing his parts easier.
Yeah. Wow. That's because he was moving. I mean, like that was like a month and a half ago. I mean, he was moving when I was moving. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
I think it was the weekend before Tinley, and then I also drove up to Tinley right after that too.
Right. But like Chris, I'm thinking of like music production stuff. Like we finish production, but then when it gets released, nothing gets done in 6 weeks. You know,
you're talking 6 to 8 months normally, and that's just with music. That's not with video.
Right.
I remember thinking after I watched the video, I'm like, how long did it take him to render an hour and a half's worth of video? Yeah, you know, which I assume was done in 4K, right? And I was just like, this had to be putting his machine on max load, right? And I was just picturing him like watching the video, and then like 30 seconds till it ended, he misspelled something.
That happened. That did happen. Oh, what was it? It was in the credits. I think it was Shane's name was spelled wrong. Like
probably put an E in Kelly.
Yeah, or something like that. Or it was without the E. I don't remember which one it was, but yeah, I checked his morph market because I'm like, is that how you do it? And I checked his morph market. Whatever it was that I had was wrong. Like,
and then you had to re-render the
I
whole
did.
thing. Yeah. Would it take you about 12 hours probably to render? Now?
So I have a pretty good, so the computer I have, it's a Radeon 7 for its GPU, which actually sucks. I wouldn't recommend that to anybody. And it's got like 128 gigabytes of RAM at 3200 megahertz, and it's like an AMD 3900X. So it took a couple hours, but it wasn't, like I was able to get it done. Like,
right.
It wasn't debilitating, and it also helps that we had like a month of lead time. So if I needed to make any changes, there was plenty of time. So we're not releasing it until December 1st.
Oh, that's true. You still got time if something pops up and some bug comes up from it. Would you want to check out the trailer? Is this a good time for it now that we've put that up? Has this been? Is this the first time that the trailer's ever been played? All right, cool.
We've all seen it. I would say, chat, if you guys want, leave your feedback. What do you think about the trailer?
All right. There's a lot of pressure.
Don't leave that comment.
I'm not confident that I'm not going to screw this up doing it, but here we go. Let me see. You know what? I'm going to hang on. I'm going to get it shared first, and then I'll click play. Then we'll know if it's working right. All right.
I can see it.
We can see it, and now I'm going to click play. Here we go, guys.
Like nobody was playing the long game back then except like guys like Justin and Ozzy.
The thought process was, generally speaking, is that
I'm getting a little bit of an echo.
And you buy that mutation, you'd make more of them and sell them.
Basically, it was like, hey, you still got the snakes. I was breeding them out in California.
Then I found Snakes and the Fatman. And I remember just listening to like the first episode, I believe it was Ralph Davis.
When I first saw the 15 minutes of blame, I thought it was genius.
He started a comeback right as I was on my build, and I got in 15 minutes of lame, and we kind of like did it together.
Then I started interviewing some people that were actually doing things the right way and made me look stupid.
That's when I started thinking like, well, it'd be really cool if we won that contest. It'd be really cool if we got in on the 15 minutes of lame. That would open up, a whole new group, like a whole new audience for us.
Most people, when they come to that requirement, they think, I'm not sure I want to do this that bad. That's the difference between, in my opinion, of who succeeds and who doesn't.
All right. Well, I can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Brian. Adam, can't hear you.
Sorry. It was getting the feedback from my mic, so I turned my mic down, and then I started talking. Anyhow, the audio came through, though?
Yeah. I could hear it. It wasn't quite as high quality as I want, but it's all right. It's all good. We appreciate you showing it. Like,
it's not running through the interface for some reason. Like the audio inputs are only on the interface. So I think it coming from the computer was throwing it off. But well, you'll have something that the next campaign stop or promo stop can polish up for my shortcomings there.
It's all good. I thank you, Adam, by the way. I appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you, man.
No, you're welcome. Hey, maybe it'll give away a spoiler. Chris, something that stuck with me. You said in there that you were interviewing people that the 2 points you said were doing things the right way, and then you felt like it made you look stupid. What was that aha moment in there? If you could share it without ruining the arc of the.
Oh no, everybody knows. I pretty much started the contest, the the 15 minutes of lame as like a joke. I was just like, I'm going to show off these idiots that are putting their retirement fund into ball pythons, and that they don't realize that, you know, they're never going to get back what they put in, because you've been doing this for what, 5 years now?
Almost four.
Okay. So you've probably gotten to that point where you're talking to somebody at like a reptile show, and they're like, yeah, I put $75,000 into this. And you're like, yeah, I wouldn't have done that if I was you. You know, like you could tell right away, like, you know, and that was the people that made it fun to start with. But then I realized that inadvertently I was helping people out by telling them, like, you know, you're not going to make this back. You're going to make this back, or you are going to make this back, but you're not going to get this. And I think John Faley was the guy that said it. It's like, if you watch enough of the 15 minutes segments, you kind of know like the blueprint on what to do and what not to do, you know, as far as getting into the hobby, because it's, I mean, there's still people now, you know, dumping 100K into this thing.
Oh yeah. Oh,
now it's probably, I mean, if you're looking for immediate money, now is probably not the time to do that, you know?
No, if you're looking for 10-year money, maybe is a good time, but immediate money, no way. And actually, that's something I talk about on the show a lot. And a lot of people disagree with me. I thought Will Morose put it the best. He said, you can grow into business rather than going into it. But you know, my initial investment that first year was like $2,000, and that was blood money to me. So yeah, hearing people say 50, 75, 100,000, I'm like, I'm in a different world than that. That's just not my world. But that's helped me actually sustain myself in the long run, where I didn't have to answer for that money or be in debt for that money. And again, we're all in different situations. We all have different lives, different responsibilities. So, but yeah, I do hear that, and I go, yeah, you better be ready for a long, long trip, man. That's all I can say.
250,000 into it on the first year. And, and looking back at me then, I would be looking at myself being like, yeah, I wouldn't have did that if I was, you know, there's just no way I would have did that. But that was back when single jeans cost, you know, $1,500. Like incomplete dominance cost $1,500, $2,000. I mean, it was such a waste of money. Then when you finally produce, you realize that, yeah, everybody's doing this and they're only getting $300, you know, with Snake now.
That's what I tell. I'm like, I'll tell people I had a good show, and they're like that, and it'll be, you know, $1,500 or something. And they'll be like, that doesn't seem like that much. And I'm like, it's not, it's a grind. You're not going to get rich at it, but it's better than running a restaurant and hoping not to go out of business. I actually have money in my pocket, you know, so it's not glamorous, but I enjoy it, and I like it better than other stuff I've done in the past. Chris, which is the worst business model? Being in a band or breeding ball pythons?
Oh, see, I got lucky. I got lucky in both. Okay. So
yeah. Okay.
It's like, but I would way rather be lucky than good any day of the week, you know, because it's you know, luck has been involved in 100% of the stuff that I went after. You know, like I moved out to LA at 26. And I'm like, I'm gonna be a musician. Like the look of disappointment on my father's face wasn't matched until I came back home from LA and said, I'm gonna start a ball python business. And he was like, I'm sorry, what's that? You know, but like I should have listened to him, you know.
He's like, what about that whole Sunset Strip thing? Wasn't that going okay?
No, yeah, but the thing is that I was there 20 years too late. Right. So,
yeah,
you know, like I was there at the point where bands really weren't getting signed out of LA much anymore.
Right. Right.
But LA was still, I mean, the Sunset Strip was still fun. I mean, the Rainbow was my second home for.
I was going to say, man, I was going to ask you which bar, and the Rainbow, man, the booths in the Rainbow, the caverns are fantastic. Chris, I might actually raise a bar in your book tonight. I was in the Rainbow and I see Lemmy sitting there, and the bartender goes, I went to go order a drink, and she goes, don't speak to Lemmy. I said, I didn't say a word about it. She goes, I could see it. Don't fucking talk to Lemmy. He's like, I'll throw you out. And I was like, okay. So two of our friends are there. We go up, we go into one of the little cavernous rooms upstairs. We're walking out, and at the booth closest to the door, there's Ron Jeremy sitting there. And I'm like, what world am I fucking living in? There's Lemmy playing Miss Pac-Man, and there's Ron Jeremy right there.
Well, Lemmy always played the poker game at the end of the bar, right? And,
I thought it was Pac-Man, but yeah, the little arcade in the bar thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And Ron Jeremy, I mean, I've had dinner with that guy so many times. He's narcoleptic, so he just falls asleep, but right in the middle of things. So he'd be eating fries, and then you look over at him, and he's knocked out, But my story about the rainbow is when I first moved to LA, because I lived in San Diego prior to that. I moved to LA, and when you got a little heat on you in LA, and people know about you, they let you use the bathroom in the rainbow that's on the first floor in the kitchen, right?
Okay.
So you could just go there, right? So I went to the bathroom and I opened the door, and there were two people having sex in there, right? And I was like, shit, I'm sorry, right? And I closed the door, and I wait there for like a minute. And then I just open the door. And I'm like, you know how filthy it is? Take this girl to a hotel. You're fucking disgusting. And a month later, I shit you not, I'm having sex in that same bathroom. It's just like, it draws you in so quick. Like, do you ever see a movie where the girl gets off the bus and next thing you know, she's on drugs and she's modeling and you think there's no way it could happen that quick. It does not happen quick enough. On TV, they extend it, okay? It happens way quicker than that.
All right there. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
it's all at
because everything's there,
Yep. So. It's all right there, man. I always tell people I can go to LA for 3 days and then I have to leave because I'll be dead if I stay in LA more than 3 days. I have to go.
Yeah, it's a rough. I mean, you fall into the lifestyle pretty quickly. Like I remember I was driving around with my two friends, Joe and Jungle Jim. And Joe and Jungle Jim knew each other prior to, to me moving there. But I'm in the car with them and I'm in the back seat. And Jungle Jim is like, Joe, you're one of my best friends. He's like, Chris, you could be one of my best friends, but you have to have sex with one of my girlfriends first. And I was just like, what is going on here? This is a weird place to be. Needless to say, me and Jim were best friends, for the majority of the time I was there. So, it's a fun place when you don't have shit to care about or worry about.
Right.
The minute the minute you have a girlfriend or you have a family, like LA is not cool and fun anymore.
It's not the place for commitments. No.
Yeah. No doubt.
No. Well, I got all sorts of notes. What do you guys want to talk about, though? We can keep going on the documentary. I was gonna pick your brain about the kind of the arc of your show and your brand, Chris. I know that you've had to evolve and you're doing lives now. I think you used to. Did you primarily from the 4 years that I've sort of been engaged in this? It seemed like they were kind of produced and edited episodes. And then in the past year and a half, you went to live? I
started doing lives. I remember the first time I saw a live, I was like, man, this is so lazy. It's like such a lazy way to do it. You just do an interview. It shows up on YouTube. You don't even have to market it or anything. So I was like, look, because I was just doing audio, up until 3 or 4 years ago. And then I was like, well, let me see if I could put together a produced show every month and just see how that works out. And it's a lot easier than doing a live because, I mean, with you do the lives. You got to schedule everybody. You got to, figure out when things work out. It's, for me, that's just such a pain in the ass. So what I started doing was the produced show. And then I talked to MJ. And MJ was like, dude, you're leaving a lot of money on the table because you could do these lives and you could get super chats and you could get, all types of other, stickers and all that. He goes, trust me. He goes, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. So I was like, let's just do a Sunday show that only concentrates on hot women, right? Like that's it. Because that'll kind of be on my brand. And, and they could teach you something too. Like a lot of these women know so much more than all these idiot guys. I mean, like,
they got a level head. Yeah.
Yeah. When a woman like sees a guy just get so like, I always say to women, I'm like, did you ever, roll past the sports bar on a Sunday? You see all these gorillas inside just, cheering on their fucking, team playing fantasy football. But like every study has shown that women are smarter than men. So I was like, right. Yeah. Even if we just bring on the hot chicks who are like reptile adjacent, meaning that you don't even have to be breeders. You just could own reptiles or own reptiles. Past, I'll have you on. And I said, I think I'll make it even more interesting by just saying no fatties or uglies on the show, right? And man, the fatties and the uglies lost their minds. So, but I started doing those lives on Sundays, and then it just became a thing. It just became a thing because there's always hot chicks in the reptile. I mean, they all don't have green hair and are 230 pounds wearing tube tops at reptile shows, like what most of you guys see, especially you being in Florida, Adam, or when you used to be in Florida, you know the deal.
Yeah. So do you like, so what about that? Have you come to enjoy the lives, or you still find them a pain in the ass, or what's your thing now? Where's your preference now?
The scheduling, I find a pain in the ass.
It's horrid, isn't it? Like people don't realize how hard it is to organize 50 plus people a year and get them in the same place.
That's why I only do twice a month.
Question for you guys, because we don't have a live show. How do you guys go about picking your guests? You just shotgun out messages to people, or
I shotgun out messages to hot chicks? Yeah.
All right.
That's it.
It's really hard because we don't want to alienate. Well, I don't. Maybe actually Chris might be even more comfortable with shooting people down than I am, but. Like, I don't want to alienate people, but I also feel like I haven't, like, part of why I've been able to succeed is that I just haven't quit. I just figured it out and just been stubborn as hell. But I started to get a knack for, all right, we got to have good content, and it's got to be something so compelling that people are going to want to watch. And honestly, when I do solo shows, I'd rather do a solo show with a topic that's been brewing in my head than just be like, fuck it, get somebody in here kind of thing. Like, so yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare. So I'll have people pitch stuff to me, and if I find it like really like interesting, compelling, okay, I'll bring them on. It's a little bit challenging because usually people that pitch something to me want to run the whole show. Like they've been waiting their whole life, man. Here's 42 points that they're going to cover. And I'm like, look, man, you got to at least let me dance. Like we got to have words that we can get in edgewise. And then there's, as Chris knows, a lot of these people, and most of the people I've never met. So I have to hope that they're coming in with the right mindset, that they want to converse, that we're going to hit it off. Like dead air is the death of a show. I got to keep it going. If not.
Yeah, I do the same. Well, what I do for the live people on the Sunday night shows is I'll set up a date like a week before to make the woman like comfortable and basically make us friends, right? Because if we're friends, we're going to interact a lot better than if I just met you that night, Mm-hmm. So I do that, but it's time consuming, and like Steven knows, if when people come to me and they're like, I'd really like to be on 15 Minutes of Lame, you immediately can never be on 15 Minutes of Lame. Like, because if you have to ask, that just reeks of desperation, and that there's certain people that I won't have on the main show, but literally anyone who requests to be on 15 Minutes of Lame, I tell them no.
What about you, Adam? If you were to tell somebody no, not necessarily that you have, why would you tell somebody no?
Well, part of it, look, like, so when I was first starting out, there was a guy who I think a lot of us know. There was a guy named Gershon. He was doing like purposefully new people, new platform, just come on. And I really, really valued that there was somebody like that in the industry doing that. On the other hand, with sponsors, advertisers, my own goal, my own business goals, my own drive, and what I want to accomplish, I wanted to make sure that I felt like there was content there. So usually if it's somebody that I just don't know at all, I'll go look at their content and see if they're doing the work. Like Chris, you talk about a lot about people don't know how long even just one generation of ball python breeding is, or the work that goes into it. So if I see that they're doing the work, then there's something intriguing there. If it's just straight up, hey, I'm doing this and I want to be on because I really care, and like you haven't even set up your accounts or put the time into experimenting with reels or pictures or stories, or following other people, like if you want to interact, like you got to interact. You can't just you can't just ask to be on. So that gets hard. But usually I would say I only bring on probably 10 to 20% of people that pitch to me. I usually go find people. Like at shows are great for that. Tinley was great. Tinley was a gold mine for meeting people in person. Cause you find immediately like people that their personalities feel warm with your own. And you're like, okay, I could talk to this person. Boom. That's not going to be hard. And then there's other people that like, there's people that I do business with. I won't say who, but people that I do business with regularly. And I'm like, I can't even carry on a conversation with this person. Like we email fine, but they're not going to be a good fit on the show kind of thing. So it all goes into it, but it all comes down to kind of that gut feeling of like, Chris will get what I'm saying in music too. Like at the end of the day, it's about the show. It's not about me personally. It's not about my ego. It's about delivering a good show. And no matter how bad the guest turns out to be, I got to slog through it and put on the best show that I can. That's my mindset anyway.
That's close to mine. But there are some people out there who I just don't like, so they'll never be on the show, But I can't compartmentalize that much, where I can't take a person out of like how I feel about them, So, and I can't pretend to like them. So, but also at the end of the day, it is about the show, because I remember, being in the band, and whether you're playing to 15 people or 20,000 people, you got to realize that it's not just a $10 ticket that they're buying, right? They're basically buying they're spending money on a babysitter. They're probably spending money on new clothes to come out. It ends up being like it's a $200 night that you've asked this person to basically do for you. And when the lives are a little bit different, because you could just show up any way you want.
Right. You watch the replay.
But at the same time, you have to be interesting, because what the ball python people don't realize, and you realize this from all these shows, what they have 20 people on and everybody's sucking each other's dick, letting them, but like what a good job they're doing. And they're really not doing anything. And so for you to falsely instill confidence in that person is probably a mistake, because I can't tell you the amount of people that I talked to just this month that have said, yeah, I bred, my two snakes together, nothing special, but let me know that I could breed. And then I'm like, well, then what are you breeding nothing special for? You're basically breeding that for them to become cobra food, or to just go out to a pet shop where they're going to die anyway, So it's there's too many people in the hobby right now, or too many ball python breeders in the hobby right now, and it's showing by all these collection sales that you see going on.
Oh, it's daily.
All over the place.
Yeah, it's daily. I'll tell you what, though, I was at a show last Saturday, a week ago, in St. Paul. There were 2 ball python breeders. That was it, and I was like, wait a minute.
Where was that show at? I'd like to go to that show.
Yeah, it was St. Paul, Minnesota, man. There was 2 ball python breeders. And I was like, and I ended up having a great show, because there was a balance of, it wasn't everybody, just race to the bottom on price. It was another, I was going to say another, I'm not established in this market by a long shot yet, but it was an established breeder in this marketplace, and they were good to me and they were cool, but it wasn't like, okay, what do they have? I got to go price it $25 less, or that nonsense that you see, or when there's 50 ball python breeders, and there's probably only, out of 50 breeders, there's probably only 5 of them that have something that nobody else has.
Right.
Otherwise, everybody else is selling the same stuff, trying to like carnival barker people over,
Well, can you do me a favor and just pull up the toxic positivity Yeah. In there. Right. I want everybody to know that this is why Brian has no friends. Okay. So it's not your top first, and stop fucking using my term. Okay. You fucking piece of shit. Anyway, he had told me that he was going to come on and just abuse the shit out of the chat room tonight. So
I saw him get really comfortable with me. You know, he could say hello. Nice to be in your living room. You know, but that's okay. I know that you're still working on him and you know, molding him.
So Brian is a really nice guy, but I feel like that he has a personal goal to piss off every single person in the ball python industry at least once.
Yeah, but like, if you never met a Puerto Rican before, that's what they all do. Okay?
See, he thinks it's fun.
Ball pythons, they do it with everything. Okay, they try to disagree with you with everything. But the thing is that Brian. Brian is fucking awesome. I fucking love Brian. So I'm gonna positive his ass right now. He's probably, I've known Brian for maybe 2 years. He's been one of the most loyal dudes that I've ever known. Like fucking, he didn't like you because I told him not to like you because you were doing a Tuesday night show, and then we went up against you.
I know, it's already on. I was like, what the hell? I'm the bad guy.
And what was great was you were doing it first, too. Like we just came in, and Brian's still like, nah, fuck that guy. You know, like, he's so like, he's my ride or die, man. I
was like, I'm not leaving my spot. You figured. And then I remember being like, and you'll get a kick out of this because of being in bands. I was like, do these guys know how hard it is to keep 3 people on the same page? All I got to do is keep me on the page. I don't have to worry about anybody else, man. The 3 of them, I was like, 3 people keeping 3 people together is impossible. I'll outlast them.
I'll tell you, it's rough because we don't care. We're never on the same page, but between the 3 of us, you know, but that's what makes it funny.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like, and that's, it's one of the things that I have trouble with all the reptile podcast people is that like they look at me as competition, and I'm like, I'm really not competition. My show is not about reptiles. My show is about making people laugh and about, you know, I have reptile people on because they're friends of mine that want to come on.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have them on because I'm like, oh, Wilbanks, you're doing these new incubators. They're so incredible. You know, why don't I have you on? Right. I don't give a shit about that. You know, if they're great to talk to, then I'll have them on. Like Wilbanks is so much fun to talk to, even if you know we're not talking snake stuff.
Right.
So
right.
That's you know, that's the goal. But speaking of that, there are too many reptile podcasts out there right now.
I want to jump into that in just 1 second. Chris, you know the drill. I got to pay some bills really quick. Guys, there's 56 of y'all in the audience. Thanks for being here tonight. The 3-screen layout makes the logos hard. So you can see Redline and you can see Cold Blooded. I'm going to, Chris, kick Steven off for 30 seconds to cut some promos.
Well, you can kick me off too. Steven will just come next year.
Okay, we'll do that for a second. And then, but don't run away. Like, if you don't come back, I'm going to be pissed. Like, you're not.
You think I'm going to Sean Bradley you?
You're going to be like,
I'm not going to do it.
You're like, I'm out of here, guys. You get the bill. All right. We'll have Chris back in just a second. Guys, Redline Shipping, give them a shot if you haven't. If you haven't heard of them already, you're out of your mind. You should try them out. You should check them out. There's a reason you hear of them everywhere. They're doing it great. They're doing it at a great price and at a great customer experience. Check out their website. Check out their prices. Use the promo code PROPER5. You're going to get yourself $5 off your next shipping label, and you're going to enjoy the experience. I promise you. If you feed with frozen thawed rodents, which I do, you should give Cold Blooded Cafe a shot if you're not already. I could tell you that they produce their own rats in-house, and from they are bred there till when they ship out there. Also, from my time in food and beverage for nearly 3 decades, I like their process of freezing fresh and how quickly their product is frozen and how fresh it is frozen. So I think you'll see the difference if you use Cold Blooded Cafe. Use the promo code PROPER10. You're going to get 10% off of your order. That's a good chunk of change on a box of frozen rodents. Next up is Portuguese pythons. They've been really great to me. That's Danny and Renee Rocha out in Chino, California, in the Inland Empire, just east of LA there. They're doing some really great things. I know they just hatched a clutch of Ultramel Pod combos. Chris and I were just talking about people doing things differently and not having all the same stuff, man. There's not many Ultramel Pod combos out there that you can have access to. Go check them out. B and S Reptilia. Chris not only focuses on ball pythons, he focuses on colubrids. Pituophis, that's the Latin word that he taught me. If you know what that means, Chris is your guy. Chris at B and S Reptilia, and he is a knowledgeable resource. He also is the distributor for the chipper, and I know that he just got a massive amount of cocoa to go in the smaller new size batches. If you want to try out that product, give him a shout. Even if you're not in the Pennsylvania area, give him a shout. He'll either point you in the right direction or he might be able to help you out anyhow. That's Chris at B and S Reptilia. Last but not least is Keith out of Kreative Genetics. He's also out there in California. He is working stranger combos with recessive projects. I know he's got a clutch of stranger combos that are pos het for 3 different recessives. And I believe, without looking at my notes, that is Pied, Clown, and Axanthic pos het stranger combos. Go check out what all these guys have going on. They make my life easier each week, and they make it worthwhile along with the audience and the content that I get to learn from to do this show every week. So thank you all very much for hearing me out. Thanks for being here tonight. If you're just joining, we got Chris Eaton. I promise he's here. I kicked him off for a minute because we had to show the logos. Courtney, I think, thought Steven was the one kicked out. I heard some talking in the background there. We'll get back to the show here now. Oh, man, I have to look in different places now. This is throwing me off. Let's go back that. There we go. Now we're back that way. Chris, what do you think the arc of, like you say, there's a bazillion podcasts. It feels like the equivalent to the number of ball python breeders 2.5 years ago, right?
Yeah, but, my opinion on that is that you're not a podcast unless you're doing audio also. Okay, you have to be available for audio, because everybody that runs a YouTube channel knows that people are listening or watching you on their way to a show, or they're listening or watching you while they're cleaning up shit. They don't have to, pretend to actually be watching you, because a lot of them show up to these lives and are not watching at all.
Well, it's in the background, right? Yeah.
And it's just some in the background. So I think there's too many podcasts. I think that there's too many people that don't know what they're doing, that are telling people how to do it. And you're not going to make money in this significantly for at least the first 5 years. I believe it's worse than a restaurant, right? So it's like, don't have a show if you're not doing, like, don't tell people what to do if you're on your 20th clutch. Like, you still have no idea about the shit that could go wrong. You have 20 clutches. I want to listen to a guy that's had 500 clutches. I want to listen to a guy that's had 1,000 clutches. But the problem is that everybody in this woke PC world are like, you want to do it? Fine. It's like me telling you the majority of podcasts that I watch is like me asking, like, how do you fly a plane? And they're like, well, you get in a plane, you know where you want to go, and you fly to it. Press a button. They're just so fucking stupid. Sorry. It's so stupid. It's so ridiculous that, like, man, if I was a fireman, I wouldn't be listening to the rookie fireman that came in. Right. It's like, if I wanted to learn how to fly a plane, I'm not going to listen to the pilot that's been doing it for 6 months. I'm going to listen to the pilot that's been doing it for 30 years, I just don't get it. And I get it that everybody wants a voice now and everybody wants to feel important. I get all that, right? And I know that we're in a world of YouTube likes and all that other shit. But a good example to look at would be Corey Martin, right? Like, Corey Martin has only been doing this for like 5 years. Corey Martin does not have a YouTube channel. She does not have a podcast. but she works the hell out of her Instagram, and she works the hell out of the other socials, and she puts out animals that are so amazing that you wonder how she did it. Okay, let people ask you the questions first, and then worry about going out and getting a podcast. And plus all these other podcasts, I mean, just white trash dudes like on their filthy couches, you know, and their laptop, and I'm just like, you know, at least make it look good, man.
Yeah, so one thing that caught. Go ahead, Steven.
Oh, I was gonna say I have a slight counterpoint to this. So I do agree with you, mostly, Chris, is that it doesn't make sense if you're like brand new and you come in and you're trying to tell people like this is how you do it when you haven't done it yourself. Like I feel like that makes people like question your credibility. I personally believe that if you're going to come in 2023 breeding ball python, you absolutely have to be putting in all of the work marketing yourself on social media, and that can be on Instagram, can be on YouTube, can be on TikTok. But if you're not doing that, you are not going to be making sales. Like you're just not going to be able to stand out in the crowd, and people are not going to trust you, especially if you're actually making animals that are worthwhile. Because if they've never heard from you before, why are they going to buy like a triple het DG Exanthic pied from you when they could buy the exact same animal from anybody who has a name? So I personally think you got to do it, even though it sucks and it's at first there's things work against you. You still have to do it.
Yeah, but you don't have a podcast.
True. Just a regular YouTube channel. But I mean,
well, right. And I remember the first time that I saw you, and you were like, you know, how not to lose money in a ball python business. I was like, who the fuck does this guy? Like I've never even heard of this fuck before, and I'm seeing this nerd up there fucking telling people how to do it, and I'm looking at him and I'm like, you know, he may be a nerd that knows what he's doing. Like, and I told this story a million times. I was convinced the first time I met them that I was gonna like Courtney way more than Steven. Turns out that Courtney is pretty mean. Okay. And yeah, don't like her, like Steven more right away. Okay. I mean, right away. But yes, for every 1,000, there's a Steven. Okay.
Yeah.
But you gotta, it's just like Adam, you know, you play in a band. Like fucking how many bands have you just went and saw it and said, I can't even believe that these people had the balls to get up on stage.
Yeah, right. Yeah, where you're just like, oh shit, you know. Yeah. So to both of your points, I think if and Chris, you nailed it. If anybody thinks they're going to make money or that I make money podcasting, it's not. But it is a part of, to your point, Steven, the bigger marketing picture. And similar to your point, Chris, I took the angle of, I don't know anything. This is how I'm going to learn and figure it out. And then somewhere along the way, you know, the Bob Vu's of the world started coming on, and now you're here. And there was something that clicked with that in the audience, and it worked. And I'm thankful that, well, again, part of it was just my own stubbornness, just keep showing up. All right, here's Adam's new show. And you do something enough times, you start to learn some things from it. But I think most people don't have the tenacity and the drive and won't see the bigger picture. And again, I always go back to the music and restaurant analogies, but you know, how many shitty gigs did you play for beer or for, you know, just to hope to meet some chick in a garage gig or whatever before you ever get your first one? And it was sort of that mentality of like, all right, you know, the whole American Idol model is bullshit. Like we all think, hey, you just go win a show, you get your YouTube space and you're going to be a star. No, go play the gigs, go try and knock on a door and convince a bar owner to hire you for a gig. And that was sort of the mindset I took to starting on mine. And
well, also the thing that you got to think about, right, is for anybody that starts a podcast on anything, you better love what you're talking about, because you're going to be working for a year before you get 500 people. You know, so it's like nobody's going to listen to you.
Right.
Courtney, you're not a nice person. I think that you should give $50 and you may convince me a little bit. because Adam's only getting $250 of that $5 right now.
But it's $250 more than I had.
did you do that super chat with the account that's tied to my checking account? Just like,
oh, she could be then I'm with Chris. I don't know if she's a nice person yet. If that's the one, you guys keep separate account. You're a couple that does that? You have separate accounts and all?
Yeah, we have joint and separate. So like we have like a joint account for like mortgage and bills and stuff like that, and then we have separate accounts for like if I want to go buy a snake or something.
Okay,
like,
all right. Yeah, I never get into that with people. Like ours is all one pot. Kelly gets it all. It's all one shot. You know?
All right. So follow-up question on the podcast stuff, and I apologize if you weren't done, Chris. You could tell me to shut up. But if somebody's going to come in 2023 and they are going to start marketing themselves, they're going to do an Instagram, they're going to do a YouTube, they're going to do a podcast, what should they do to not suck?
Should they do to not suck? Sorry for the silence there. I know that. Yeah, nobody's watching John Feely here, so don't worry. Okay, it's right. We're pretty good. Just shut your mouth and post pictures. Okay, but don't post pictures of your fucking FedEx boxes. That is just the worst, most fucking unbearable thing to look at. Like 3 new noodles going to their new homes today. Shut the fuck up. Nobody cares. But like, it's just that nobody, unless you're using REDLINE shipping, okay? If you're using REDLINE shipping, then
we care deeply.
But nobody cares. I don't want to see 30 boxes going out, because anybody who's been doing it for over 5 years, that's commonplace for you to sell 30 snakes in a week. So you don't have to announce to the world that you've reached this milestone of getting out 30 boxes, because I could just trust me when I say nobody cares. Okay. And if you're going to do it like that fucking Canada does it. Wilma Rose. Wilma Rose, it's like you're getting fucking Ed McMahon to show up at your door with a giant check when you get a box from him. Because I've seen pictures where he has like everything's elaborate. Like when he sells a puzzle, I think he gives you a puzzle of the puzzle.
That's super cool.
I mean that guy is doing everything right. Okay, and I think that he thinks that I don't like him, because when I was on MJ's show one time, he was like, "What do you think of Wilma Rose?" And I was like, "I don't really give a shit, right?" And he's from Canada, so who cares, right? But like, find the best people that are doing it and copy what they do, okay? Because the way you're doing it is not the right way.
So I think Will was in the chat earlier. So Will, if you're still in the chat, you'll have to go on Snakes and the Fatman. So has he been on before?
No, he's never been on.
Yeah.
He pops in here every now and again. His I'll tell you, his Patreon supporters have been fantastic for the audience. He's around every now and again. He may very well be around.
What about you? What should they do not to suck?
Look, I don't claim to know. I sent an email to somebody, I don't know, either yesterday or this morning. I said, just start creating, but pay attention to the results. Pay attention to what people like, and pay attention to what gets no attention. If it gets no attention, throw it in the garbage and keep going. Try something new until you get something that gets attention, and then learn from that. But I would say you got to get out there and do the reps. You can't just expect to be perfect out of the gate, because to Chris's point, you're going to come across like an ignorant fool, because you're not going to know. So you may as well, bumble through it. And I know that Chris probably has less patience for that than I do, but that's kind of how we all start. Like, I started in a dish pit. I didn't know shit what I was doing in a restaurant. All right, I bumble around in the dish pit for 8 months. And then I learned to cut, onions on a slicer, because it was the next shit job I had to do to work my way up. The fact is, most to keep the analogy going, most people won't work through slicing onions. They're going to.
I was going to say, how many people nowadays put 8 months into? And I've seen people start and close their ball python business in 8 months before.
Right.
So it's. I think it's more the mentality of the younger people now. And I hate to sound like an old guy that like get off my lawn, but young people, I got to be honest. You guys suck, man. I mean, it's just like you guys don't know how to do anything, okay, except for Instagram. But that's okay. Like my niece, I love her and everything, but she's a moron. But I'll tell you, she works Instagram like a motherfucker. And I have her do my like I don't even know how to do my own story on Instagram. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Anya, can you do this? And I have her do my stories.
Oh, cool.
It's just but I think being this old, you get smarter, and you're like, if I don't know how to do something, I'm just gonna pay somebody to do it. I'm not gonna try and learn it myself. There we go. That's my client right there.
Wow.
Die.
That's very, very cool.
Anybody gonna beat him? Anybody want to go for the 51?
Jeez, okay.
Yeah, Price is Right, this bitch. Come on.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, if we're on a roll, Brian, seriously, that's very gracious of you. I really, really appreciate that, man. Thank you. That is overboard and kind. Thank you. Yeah. Well, then now, all right, Brian, we're going to have to give Brian a little platform to rant on, some opinion on something. But
Brian killed it in the documentary. Like, his parts were so good, like really, really insightful. He did really, really well in his interview.
I feel like I'm stepping into a trap here. I feel like this is going to be the permission for him to kick my ass on his show. On like, instead of a milk carton, he's going to find something else to put me on. See, I keep a little bit of an eye of what's going on around me. Not a whole lot. I know a little bit of it.
Brian,
all joking aside, thank you, Brian.
Just being friends with Brian forces me to wake up every Wednesday morning at 7:00 to watch his dumb show and fucking have him. Because he loves having his own show because nobody could interrupt him. When he has to do Bronx Down Under, like, he hates that me and disagree with him or fucking say something. Because Brian, if you listen to him long enough, he'll tell you he's part of the 2%. He's part of the 2% of Puerto Ricans in America that make look at this fucking Price is Right.
All right. I mean, so, you do 2 cents more and you'll beat Brian, Justin.
That's well, to Justin's credit, he threw $100 last week. I joked that people could sponsor with their stickers one of my light switch panels because I haven't put the light switch panels back up, and I have a sticker that now is going to have to go on. Like, that's going to be the one sticker in the room, but at least it's $100 sticker. People will be like, "Why would you put a sticker in your room?" And be like, "Well, for $100."
Oh, yeah,
the sticker.
Yeah,
on the
for
wall.
Money, I'll do anything. Yeah.
Well, and he's up to $150 now, so that's $150 sticker. I'm down.
Fucking A. Come on, guys. Fucking knock this out. Let's make this Adam's highest earning podcast today.
Yeah, let's get it. Okay. We get $500, and Chris will sell you his amputee leg.
Yeah. No. If we get to $500, I'll put your dumb sticker on the leg. That's
on the leg. Yeah, I'll buy the lampshade with the tassels to cover the ass of the leg.
Yeah.
All right, that's what we'll do there. Hey, Chris, one thing I do remember very well, we had a very brief conversation. You might not even remember the one breeder call that I did ignorantly jump into and then was quickly introduced to the underground world of Chris's live breeder call.
Look at Gerald.
Jesus, what is going on? Oh my God.
You guys are derailing the show. Keep it going. But
all right. Beers are on me the next time the three of us get together. Jesus. Okay. So Chris, I asked you about music, and you were pretty disinterested at the time. I think you said you didn't. I said something about a Les Paul guitar, and you're like, I don't give a fuck anymore. And I know that your medical condition, the persistent pain, had really rendered music impossible. You were talking briefly earlier. Jesus, Gerald, thank you. Fuck, it's a lot. It's Canadian money. Does that count?
No. Well, yeah, but that's like $11. Fucking.
Right. That's a Molson Ice 6-pack right there. No, I'm joking, Gerald. Thank you so much. But Chris, you were talking about doing some music projects, and then I think I saw a picture of you playing bass on stage not too long ago either. Tell us about what you got going on these days with music.
Oh no, that wasn't me. That was a guy just wearing my shirt, playing bass.
Oh, okay. I was gonna fuck with you about the Fu Manchu, the dude. I was like, is that Chris? I don't think it is, but okay.
But yeah, I just figured, listen, I don't know how much time I got left, right? So
Right.
so there's a lot of stuff that I want to do. And so next year I'm going to put out a record, and you could buy it, you could not buy it, but I'm going to have people who are in the community play on it that I've always wanted to play with. But then I'm also going to have some other people, that were friends of mine, back in LA and San Diego. I'm going to write a couple of songs with them, and we're going to put it out and see if people like it, because people have been asking me to put old songs up, that I wrote and everything on like a Patreon page and on the main website. And I'm just like, who really cares? Like that I wrote this song in 2003, or whatever. But it turns out that a lot of people have asked about it. So and next time I'm in Tennessee, I want to record a song with Bree Barham from Smoky Mountain Balls, because she's an unbelievable like gospel and blues singer.
Yeah, cool.
I mean, like she's so good. Okay.
Yep.
And I asked her immediately, and then I just figured I'll pull some guitars and the piano out of retirement, and it's going to take a little while longer to get back to what I used to be, because once I had the stroke, you kind of lose the feeling of everything. But I think I got some music left in me. I want to put out a record this year and just just have fun with it again, and not make it all about trying to get a record deal and get signed and all that fun stuff, because I'll never do that again.
Well, it's nice not to have that pressure and to do it. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like to do it for sort of the care, or the passion, or the whatever the right word is of the art, and to be driven to do it, rather than like, yeah, I want the lifestyle, I want the record, I want the LA, I want all. You don't have to worry about all that shit. You can do it. You can do it however you want that way.
Yeah, well, we had that already, and I hate to think that I peaked at 26, but it's certainly looking like like that was my peak, right? So that's okay, right?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that, and I'm glad to hear it. All egos and personas and all that aside, man, that's really cool to hear. Music, in a lot of ways, changed my life, and maybe saved my life in some ways, from a dumbass kid to who I am now. But that's cool to hear. I really look forward to hearing that. When do you? I know you can't predict these things because who knows what unknowns happen. But when do you think it'll be out? A year and a half, 6 months?
I would say by this time next year.
Very cool.
Yeah, because I'm also, you could do a lot of good things with tech nowadays, where you can just send tracks.
I was going to say, yeah, you send somebody a track, I plug in and play, send it back. Yeah.
But I don't want to do the majority that way, because there's something when you're in a room with somebody that makes it better.
Right. Yep. So, there is.
It's what it's just the thing, and anybody who's a musician or who's not a musician won't really get that,
Yeah, but there is something to it. Even the mystique of it, even if they don't get it, just hearing that that is a fact and that is real, and there's a connection, whether it's on a porch or in a music studio or on stage. I tell people it's the highest high I've ever felt, man. Yeah. And nothing else I've ever done to myself makes me. It's amazing, So. Steven, we're at about the 90-minute mark, and this tonight was about the documentary. Give us the wrap up. Where can people see it? When's it going to be out? And to take a page from Chris's playbook and your show prep, which I asked for hey, give me a couple bullet points, and it was like 4 chapters of here's what we'll go
into. It's like Instagram, here. You can't add any more characters in a message. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that'll be it.
But okay, so tell us about when they could see it, where they could see it, and most importantly, why the hell should anybody watch this versus some other documentary they could watch on Netflix? Take us home, man.
All right, so the documentary is going to be released on December 1st, 2023. It's going to premiere on our YouTube channel, but before we're actually going to premiere it, we are going to be doing a live with Chris on his channel and our channel together, I believe. I don't know if we fully talked about details on that.
Yeah, we got to flesh that out, yeah.
Where we're going to be a short live, maybe 30 minutes to an hour. I don't know how long it'll be. Pretty much launching the contest for 2023. So, and this is slightly related to the documentary, but also for the contest. So Chris already said this year it's going to be popular vote's going to be 25%. There's going to be 3 judges. Have you publicly said who the judges are yet?
I haven't yet. Yeah.
Are we holding on to that one?
We can. Oh, no, it's going to be you guys, Courtney and Steven count as 1 vote. Then Shane and Donato.
I'm excited.
Antoine, with all his moving and everything going on this year, I'm just like, maybe this isn't the year for him to do it. So it's going to be you, Donato, and or you and Courtney, Donato, and Shane.
I'm stoked for it. So we have, I don't know if you have not seen all the 15 Minutes of Lame's episodes from this year. There's so many cool people. Your partner's on it, Adam.
Yeah, Taylor's in it. Yep. Taylor and Danny.
So many good people, but they're going to be competing this year to take the title from Courtney and I, and I'm super, super stoked to see what everybody's going to do for it. So we're going to do that live to kick it off, and then we're going to premiere the documentary. The contest is going to run until Christmas, and then that's when Chris is going to announce the winner. We have a couple other appearances that I think we're going to be doing kind of like a press tour throughout November, promoting the contest and the show. So I know we're going to be with Jeremy Warfel on his show. Like, I think it's the weekend before. I think it's going to be Shane and I. We got to talk to Brian to figure out exactly when we can do that with him. And anybody else who has a show and they want us to come on and talk about the documentary, talk about 15 Minutes of Lame, let us know and we'll figure out a group of people who can do it to come promote. So I'm stoked for it. Anyways, the reason why you should watch it rather than in addition to watching any other content on there is that,
I swear to God.
Yeah. So one, there's not a whole lot of ball python documentaries. There's not stuff really focused on the breeding hobby. So if you want to hear the like origins of the breeding hobby specifically, we have like Justin talking about when he got in, we have Chris talking about when he got in, the eyeballs days, we have Donato talking about it, and they're not talking about it in terms of like, oh, things were so much better. It is like straight conversations with them where they are very, very realistic. And like, I feel like Justin does a really good job of being like upbeat. Like even in like the video, Justin's like, it's hard. And he talks about all of these different things. So if you want to know about it from an information standpoint of like, how was the hobby then? How is it now? What are common problems that people run into? How do you solve those problems? That's part of it. And then the story that it's all framed around is 15 Minutes of Lame. Like seeing how Courtney and I came into the hobby, weaseled our way onto Chris's 15 Minutes of Lame contest and ended up winning. And I'm really, really excited about it.
All right, guys. I want to tell you both thank you. I appreciate you all being here tonight. Well, Steven, you know, you were the first guest on my show, and you helped me kick this off. Chris, you're somebody that I've looked up to and obviously a standard that I chase after. So I thank you all both very much for being on the show. I look forward to hanging out in the future, and I hope you guys will come do this again sometime soon.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you taking your platform and using the time. It was awesome, man. It was the last time I tried to talk to you, I gave you like 7 different dates for fucking your 15 minutes thing. And you're like, can't do it.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't fucking do it. I don't know what I was moving. I was still working other jobs. I had other clients. I couldn't. I know.
24.
You did.
Are you going to do it, Adam? 24. If Chris brings you on 15 Minutes of Lame, you're going to do it in 24. You're going to be 24.
No, I'm waiting. No, I'm done with it. I'm beyond. Well, and look, here's the thing. I wouldn't compete is the problem. I would focus on so many other. I know. Compete. I wouldn't do it justice. No, I wouldn't. That's not cool to somebody that would want to go compete. I'm good. My platforms are kind of made and that stuff. I am what I am, but well, no, I wouldn't.
Good for me. All right.
No. Well, no, but if I tell you what I really want to do, then you're going to be like, listen, I told you, you asshole. If you ask, you don't get to do it. So I'm just going to play cool and keep doing what I do. You'll come knocking one day.
That's what a lot of the dudes say. They're like, listen, I'm not going to be here because in 2 years, you're going to come to me for the main show spot. And I'm like, that's never happened yet.
I was going to say, anybody that knows my personality, I don't, I still wonder, maybe to your point, Chris, I still wonder how there's 60 people or however many in here watching and hanging out. I'm grateful for all of it, and I truly have had a blast tonight. I would hang out anytime in person or on the computer, and I'd definitely go have a beer with you guys and hang out.
Yeah, definitely. You got it. I'll be down in North Carolina probably in July, so I will let you guys know. Or no, you're not in North Carolina anymore.
I'm not, but I could be.
Come
Who
down.
knows? I'm in Minnesota now, just
I
outside
know.
of Minneapolis.
Minnesota, that's like, yeah, that's like, why'd you move there? Like Minnesota.
My wife's family's from here. No, it doesn't makes it sound bad. No, our Florida got crazy, man. Florida's a weird place to be right now, and the house and the facility was good. My wife's family's from here, and honestly, as crazy as it sounds, although you're in New York, like I miss seasons, man. Florida's just one blur of just you don't even get fall. Like palm trees don't change colors, and some palm trees and pine trees. That's it. So I miss seasons, but today was pretty cold, and it was only 37. I was like, shit, this is really cold, and it's like,
yeah, your blood gets thinned out because when I came back from LA to New York, it was like 40, and I was like, it's fucking freezing here. Are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. And I was one of those jerks, like the typical Northeast shady breeder. It would be 11 degrees out, and I'd be wearing shorts and a hoodie. You know, so it's rough, man. It's rough. But
yeah.
But yeah, you know, I'm glad the move was good for you. But Florida, I mean, Florida's cool. There's a lot of hot chicks down in Florida, but there's also like 103-degree weather, and you know,
it's stifling. Anyway, I don't even want to get into it, but yeah, it was a good opportunity for us to move on in our own situation. So, guys, thank y'all so much. I feel like I'm rambling, and I want to wrap it up while we're still on a good note and have good content here. So thanks very much. Check out Chris on Snakes and the Fatman, Bronx Down Under. You can check out his breeder calls if you want to get crazy, and check out the documentary on December 1st, 15 minutes. How are you pronouncing
15
it,
minutes.
Steven?
15 minutes.
15 minutes. Okay, 15 minutes on Steven's YouTube channel, which is Leviathan Snakes. Check them out, guys. Thanks so much. I'm going to hit the music.
Thanks again, brother.
Cheers, guys. Wait a second. I got to say thanks to everybody that gave unbelievable amounts of cash tonight. I feel really bad. I hope they're still watching. I was sitting here. I was like, shit, I didn't say thank you. Gerald, Courtney, Justin at Pressure, and Brian. Guys, thank you all so much. I hope you're still around to see this. If not, maybe I'll just personally thank you all on Instagram or whatever it might be. I appreciate it. That's it. I'm not playing the music again. Good night. And now